Hello everyone, how you doing today? I'll show you an update on this SV, which is going to be kind of a cargo transport kind of thing now. Um, Here is the newest version. Here's the version that I had prior. This was the untextured one on the bottom yet and things like that. But what I decided to do was to do some cutting and pasting on this thing, and I basically cut these two wings off and put them out a block row further, but also removed the little doodad thing over there to keep it the same actual width that it was here. And you can see on the new version, the profile is a little bit different on the front between the two of them. I do like the newer profile a little bit better, I think, a little bit more dialed in. I also made quite a few thruster changes on it. I got rid of the bigger reverse thrusters on the front, replaced them with some smaller ones. It may not need these, and it depends where things come out on CPU on what thrusters I keep or get rid of. Um, but this is basically how the new wing layout came out, and I kind of try to make it look so like there's a bit of a swivel there, so these things would actually like rotate for whatever reason. Um, so maybe they could point down and give you additional lift thrust. However, that doesn't actually work in game. And what I did do, different change, is I did get rid of two of these down thrusters. I actually made the entire ship one block longer as well, so I could fit in additional lift thrust. So I put in another big one over here, or the 3x3x7 ones, and then another one out on the wings. I figure if this thing's going to do some cargo transport, it's going to need a lot more lift thrust than what the original version over here had. And then I finished up the texturing on the body. So what is next on this is to well, build an interior out. So I kind of placed in some parts right now. CPU wise, I'm looking all right. I didn't want this to use any quantum cores, so it's not. I've got some wiggle room on CPU yet, not a lot, but the interior, for the most part, the storage I know is cheap. I'm debating on how much storage I should try to slam in here yet. I'll have to figure that one out. Try to see what this thing can actually lift, and depending on the how much gravity's on a planet and things like that. Obviously, comparatively speaking, though, to a CV, it's not going to lift near as much as you can probably easily do with a CV. So I'm thinking this might have 64K storage, maybe a little more than that. I'm not sure exactly yet, but I do have some interior room to play with. Oh, another big change I did is I got these giant, the inner bays on the back. I put in the really really big thrusters that are just really long, but I could fit them, and it really didn't change the appearance of this hardly at all by fitting those larger thrusters in place. You can see it a little bit on the bottom side here, which I actually don't mind the looks of that. It kind of breaks up the bottom a little bit, and the thrusters are pretty detailed, so I don't mind showing those. Now it does have a light shield on it and a warp drive currently, and it'll be like a tier 4, but not needing quantum cores. So at the end of the day, I kind of built this one a lot for looks, and I do understand that the function on a SV mover slash troop transport kind of thing, which I'll try to put in a lot of seats for that and things too, probably isn't necessarily the hot ticket on what's most worthwhile in game. But I think this it should work good, and I'm trying to gear this so it can be a dual vanilla and Reforged Eden release. Now, I'm in Reforged Eden currently, and the interior obviously is going to get a little heavier, but most of this will probably be sort of sealing off a lot of these thrusters, probably with steel blocks. A lot of it's going to be carbon substrate, which isn't very heavy. And here, I'll just go and kind of see how we're flying here. Let me get the stats on. So we can hit 70 forward pretty easily. It turns relatively good. Can actually currently hit 68 strafing. Now it depends on where CPU is at. I may cut down the strafing speed a little bit because it probably doesn't need that much, and I've got some extra thrusters in place right now, which I'm thinking would be better served as guns. For strafing, I've got this big cluster of strafing thrusters back there, then I've got some more back here, but I also got these ones in the center, and I'm thinking about cutting these, which would save some CPU. And then maybe installing some turrets here instead that could like shoot forward or down or back or whatnot. Now I did remove the turret off the back here, and I had that there kind of for decoration. Was using one of those fancy looking laser ones, but it was really honestly quite worthless being there. There's more of a looks thing than anything else. I guess the only place that could be if you're being pursued by another craft, you could shoot behind you, but in reality, that's probably just not going to happen. So, well, maybe. I don't know. I guess you could be pursued by drones or something in space. So, but the other, if I put in a couple side turrets out here, they would be able to also shoot behind if I do it right and cut these thrusters. But overall, yeah, it's working out pretty good and it's flying pretty good. So that's not the only thing I was doing here. Let me get over here. I got a couple more test chassis. One is and both of these are kind of matched on their weapon loadout. This one, both these are running 24 plasma turrets on them. So there's this one and this one over here. And I was just kind of playing around with some flight models again. These are quantum core using things because of the turrets and things. They're not using as many quantum cores as the tank, but they're using like about 9 each right now. And I wanted to see how these things would fly. And that's kind of what I was testing out, lifting that many turrets that were able to shoot at the ground. Now this is steel, and don't mind the looks of this. This is purely for test. I'm not really happy with the shape of this, or even the DFA, which this is kind of like a bigger version of one of these. But I wanted to see how I could get these things to fly. And this one's actually flying all right now. Now strafing though, it's not hitting the speed I wanted it to strafe at, so it's only hitting 49, and obviously it would be a little heavier. Forward speed it can do pretty good. Reverse, all right, 44 on that. So it works. And let's see, the other version is doing it different. Now this is hardened steel blocks on that one, where that one just had steel blocks currently. Even though any combat ship I'd probably want to change the material to at least hardened steel anyway, just for that extra defense. So on this one here, this one is actually faster. It's moving the same amount of turrets, but I can strafe at 70 on this one, forward at 70, reverse at 70. So all those directions I can do at 70. Now the lift isn't great, but it's not intended to carry much in weight. But you know, this one's kind of a box, and how I achieve the speed is I'm running these giant thrusters that you can see. There's a forward one and a reverse one, like that literally are across the entire hull of the ship. And the turret layout's different on this one too. Obviously it wouldn't stay like this. I wouldn't put the turrets right on the thrusters like you see here, but again, I was just testing weight and things like that. So this has an inner and outer row of turrets, basically to shoot down. Now I don't like the turret layout near as much on this one as the other one, due to the fact that, like, forward, this would only have 2 turrets that could actually fire forward on it, where this wedge shape design here, all these turrets could fire forward except for this one right now on the inside. So to me, this is a better design, so you can you know, attack down and forward, where that one only attacks down pretty much. So but I basically, most of this was trying to see what I can move and how much thrusters I would need if I wanted to hit something that was really fast and move around 24 plasma turrets. And who knows, a couple bomb launchers I'm thinking too. Kind of the goal wanted to make some kind of devastating quantum SV, but the thing is, and it's coming down to looks again, is like neither of these designs do I think look very good at all. And it's kind of like a function thing. I prefer the speeds of this one, but I prefer the weapon layout of the other one, and I don't really like the looks of either of them. So I'll have to like come up with something, but it's trying to get a good idea on how much thrust power you would actually need to have it nimble and when you're flying around and hitting max speeds, especially strafing and forward and things like that, so you could try to avoid most damage. And if this thing had a couple bomb launchers on it as well, you could do your flying run, drop a couple bombs, and just have these turrets light up things below it. So yeah, a lot of testing, trying to see how the SV flight model is working in Reforged and getting to know it a little bit better and things like that. So most of these newer things are flying way better than some of those test models I was doing earlier. But they're running way bigger thrusters. Like I don't like this either, this front thruster thing. What I want, I'm thinking ultimately, is to have a wider ship, which I'm worried about a little bit, but I think I can pull it off. A wider ship and maybe have these turrets just different, because I don't want to do this kind of shape really with it. It's not really what I wanted to do. Even these DFAs down here, I never really wanted to do a ship shaped like this, but it was kind of like trying to keep it compact and get a lot of turrets on a small area and have them so one can shoot over the other. A lot like the Phalanx tank. It's the turret layout was dictating the shape and whatnot of the actual creation. Or on something like this is just kind of like, okay, this one is like the opposite, where I was building something I wanted, to look nice, and then I'm trying to fit in whatever kind of function I can into it. It'd be neat if you could have something like this as a combat ship, but unfortunately, it's probably too big and too slow, and like if I'd want to change the hull around to tougher material, and by the time I did all that, it wouldn't have enough thrusters, and it would need a ton of quantum cores and other things, and it's a pretty big target to be moving around with not a lot of turret positions anywhere. So that's there's different things to look at in every one of these. Now, something else I wanted to show too is something that this is by Jupiter Vessel Corp, and this is it's a module unit, and it's actually all three of these modules are all one, and it's for the 6-bay version of the Helios, which is in the collection as well, and that was by Garaman. But something kind of threw me off guard a little bit with these modules. Now, these modules are very, very set up for production, big time. They've got just a ton of constructors and storage and whatnot on here. And that is really cool. I mean, it's giving you just a huge amount of everything. Let's see. And this, okay, here's one thing that I didn't understand, and maybe this is a new feature, but take a look at the color coding here. I didn't know that was possible, so I'm going to have to try to figure out what was done with that, and maybe... So I'm just looking at some of these, trying to figure out where they're getting that color from, how they're getting that color, or if it's automatically. It can't be automatically doing that. It's pretty interesting though. So I keep on thinking it would have to be something with the actual name on these. Oh, look at that! It is. There is the hexa. Yeah, the hexadecimal color code in there. So, oh wow. So anyway, that's new. I've never seen that done. Didn't know it could be done. But yeah, there's your hexadecimal color code, just like you're doing LCDs. But it's inside of these kind of brackets and not the greater than, less than symbols, and it doesn't actually have the color command in there. but it changes the color. So that is really interesting to know. So I assume if that works for this, any named part in your ship, that would probably also work for, which is really, really slick. So yeah, you know, you got to learn something new every day, and there is that. And that is, yeah, it's one of the coolest new things I've seen. Now, there's something else about this, though, that freaks me out. I mean, obviously, this setup here has so much construction power and storage that it's pretty insane. Obviously, inside this compartment here, you'll take a look at these constructors, and wow, yeah, there's a lot in here, and fridges and food processors, and I mean, these things are set up to do everything production wise, at extreme amounts as well. So, um, but that's not the feature that's freaking me out. I know that can be done, but here, let me back this out a little bit, and I'll show you something else that I believe must have changed, because it has to do with solar. Now, hold on here, let me balance you off. And obviously, most of these modules are probably not set up to work in atmosphere. Now, this does. It just has enough lift thrust to move up, so I could dock it pretty easily. But you can see this is another like three setup, and I just flew it in pretty easily with the center one, and then it mounts all the modules at once. But take a look at the top of this. Look at the solar panels. Prior to seeing this creation, I was under the impression, and I know that was true, because when I was building the Helios, I could not fit more than 24 solar panels. Now, 24 solar panels in Reforge Eden is quite a bit more than vanilla does. Vanilla, the last I knew, was 15, so I really appreciated the 24 solar panels over the 15, but I counted this one. Each one of these has 55 solar panels on it, and there's 3 of them that are all part of the same creation, which is 165 solar panels on this thing. So I got to imagine that the power on this is pretty exceptional, but I had no idea you could run this many solar panels on a CV. I thought 24 was the limit, so I got to think that recent patches in Reforge Eden has changed the solar panel count. It almost seems like it's unlimited now. I imagine that would stretch over to bases as well, so you could really build some really high-powered solar creations. And like this here, I bet you these solar panels would be enough to have this thing being, well, full production, maybe, and get all its power from the sun if it's, you know, if the solar panels are set up right. I mean, or facing the right direction, I should say. So that is really cool. So this is called the 3C cell, and I do have this in the Helios collection. I'll leave a link to the collection at the on the post as well. But I just kind of wanted to show you a couple unique features with this regarding the solar and the colored you know, inventory in there, which is really slick. An option I didn't know could be done. So now yeah, I'll have to take advantage of that as well. It looks like it's quite easy to do. You just got to know your hexadecimal color codes or look it up online. A lot of times with my own things, the colors aren't very accurate. Like if there are lots of like tools out on the internet, you don't even have to download a program to like pick a color from a color wheel, and then it'll tell you the hexadecimal code of that. They usually don't come out anywhere close to what the color that you see on on the site or the color wheel actually is. So a lot of times I know that the first 2, which would be 0 through F, are red, and the second 2 are green, and the third 2 are blue. So your typical RGB. So I'll give it. I'll usually a lot of times guess. I'll like put in, like, if I put in a couple Fs, which are the maximum intensity on the first 2, and the other 2 were 0, I know I would have a bright red. If I wanted to add a little bit of yellow to that, I would add in something over to the in the green department, or whatever color I'm looking for. So a lot of times I'll just kind of like figure out a color by putting in numbers and seeing what it looks like. I tried before just looking at the colors from you know, online and picking like, ooh, I really like that shade, and then I put it in the game and it doesn't look anything like it because I don't know, I think it translates it from like 16.7 million colors down to like 256 colors. So you're not going to get the fluctuation that you'd want, or the exact color you're looking at anyway. So, but anyway, very cool, and a couple of innovative technologies in there as well. Not to mention, another 3-base setup, which actually works out quite well. And this does not need any quantum cores. Just taking a look at it, CPU. It is a tier 4, but it does stay within tier 4. And yeah, just huge amount of production on this thing. And that's about all I've got for the time. My current project obviously is trying to get this complete, and I want to start on the interior. Now, I wanted to start doing some live streams, but I'm having technical difficulties with Twitch and OBS and stuff where things aren't linking right, and I'll try to figure that problem out. And once I get that solved, maybe I can actually do some live streams. It would be kind of neat to like build something. The problem I've got right now is the videos I have to upload them. I try to do them in acceptable, so they don't look horrid. But most of the videos I've been doing at 30 frames a second. But even that, you get a pretty big file size pretty quickly, and then I gotta manually upload those. So the thought of like doing any longer build, like I would love to do a stream on like building the interior, from start to finish. But there's no way I can do that in regular videos unless I split it up into like a whole bunch of parts, because this could take many hours to, well, it could take a long time to actually get the whole interior like worked out and tweaked from this point to like a final product. But I think it would be kind of nice to do that in a stream. I mean, there's a lot of times I'm just sitting there building and I'm like, well, I could be streaming at the same time. So then you could kind of see all the little things that I'm doing and whatnot, or looking for. And I'm sure a lot of you guys know this stuff anyway. I have done some videos on building the stuff before. It's just been a while since I've done that. I pretty much just like to show where I'm at now, because it makes for a lot shorter video. Streaming would fix that. So I will try to get into that. One last thing too, I think I meant to do it this week, and if Fred Hophead is watching, sorry I didn't get back with you. I'm thinking next week now, but I was gonna jump on one of his streams, and basically he wanted to like take a look at like where I got started from with all this, and like kind of a history of Empyrion building and things like that in a stream. So I will definitely try to get that done, or get with him next week, and we'll do that. And that's about it for me today. And yeah, so a lot of cool stuff on the workshop too. I just took a look at that slightly before the video, and I did get that phalanx tank out. You probably know that. It was moving around a whole lot better than it was in past videos. I think a lot of the HV issues got resolved. They can climb hills again pretty good, and the speeds were looking pretty decent on that. And yeah, that's about it. And you guys have yourself a good weekend. I will talk to you later.